Hi guys, let me get the book up. Woo. Okay, picking back up. Ready? How many is there in there? 10 of us, Sophie said, all little girls. Was you happy there? The BFG asked. I hated it, Sophie said. The woman who ran it was called Mrs. Clonkers, and if she caught you breaking any of the rules, like getting out of bed at night or not folding up your clothes, you got punished. How was you getting punished? She locked us in a dark cellar for a day and night without anything to eat or drink. That rotten old that rot rasper, the rotten old rot rasper, cried the BFG. It was horrid, Sophie said. We used to dread it. Remember, horrid means horrible or would be scary. There were rats down there. We could hear them creeping about. Oh my goodness. So think about that. The orphanage would lock Sophie at night and other girls at night in a dark cellar without anything to eat or drink. Wow. Just if they got out of bed to go to the bathroom or they didn't fold their clothes. The filthy old Fizzwiggler, shouted the BFG. That is the horridest thing I is hearing for years. You was making me sadder than ever. All at once, a huge tear would have filled a bucket, rolled down one of the BFG's cheeks, and fell with a splash on the floor. It made quite a puddle. Sophie watched with astonishment. What a strange and moody creature this is, she thought. One moment he is telling me my head is full of squashed flies, and the next moment his heart is melting for me because Mrs. Clonkers locks us in the cellar. The thing that worries me, Sophie said, is having to stay in this dreadful place for the rest of my life. The orphanage was pretty awful, but I wouldn't have been there forever, would I? All is my fault, the BFG said. I is the one who kid-snatched you. Yet another enormous tear welled from his eye and splashed to the floor. Now I come to think of it, I won't actually be here all that long, Sophie said. I afraid of you. I is afraid you will, the BFG said. No, I won't, Sophie said. Those brutes out there are bound to catch me sooner or later and have me for tea. I is never letting that happen, the BFG said. For a few moments, the cave was silent. Then Sophie said, May I ask you a question? The BFG wiped his tears from his eyes with the back of his hand and gave Sophie a long, thoughtful stare. Shoot away, he said. Would you please tell me what you were doing in our village last night? Why were you poking that long trumpet thing into the Gucci children's bedroom and then blowing through it? Ah, ha! Cried the BFG, sitting up suddenly in his chair. Now he is getting noisier than a Parker. And the suitcase you were carrying, Sophie said. What on earth was that all about? Oh, I'm so excited. The BFG stared suspiciously at the small girl sitting cross-legged on the table. You is asking me to tell you wopsy big secrets, he said. Secrets that nobody is ever hearing before. I won't tell a soul, Sophie said. I swear it. How could I anyway? I'm stuck here for the rest of my life. You could be telling the other giants. No, I couldn't, Sophie said. You told me they would eat me up the moment they saw me. And so they would, said the BFG. You was a human being, and human beings is like straw bunkles and cream to those giants. Straw bunkles would be strawberries, right? Strawberries and cream. If they're going to eat me in the moment they see me, then I wouldn't have time to tell them anything, would I? Sophie said. You wouldn't, said the BFG. Then why did you say I might? Because I is brimful of buzzburgers, the BFG said. If you listen to everything I am saying, you will be getting an earache. Please tell me what you were doing in our village, Sophie said. I promise you can trust me. Would you teach me how to make an elephant? The BFG asked. What do you mean? Sophie said. I would dearly love to have an elephant to ride on, the BFG said dreamily. I would so much love a jumbly big elephant and go riding through green forest picking peachy fruits off all the trees all day long. This is a sizzling hot, muck-frumping country we is living in. Nothing grows in it except for snozzcumbers. I would love to go somewhere else and pick peachy fruits in the early morning from the back of an elephant. Would you eat a snozzcumber? I don't think I would eat a snozzcumber. Eeh. Sophie was quite moved by this curious statement. Perhaps one day we'll get you an elephant, she said, and peachy fruits as well. Now tell me what you were doing in our village. If you is really want to know what I'm doing in your village, the BFG said, I is blowing a dream into the bedroom of those children. Blowing a dream? Sophie said. What do you mean? I is a dream-blowing giant, the BFG said, when all the other giants is galloping off every what way in which to swallow up human beings, I is scuttling away, hurrying, to other places to blow dreams into the bedrooms of sleeping children. Nice dreams, lovely golden dreams, dreams that is giving the dreamers a happy time. Pause. I just love the BFG. He's so kind. He's not going to eat Sophie. He is funny, right? And on top of that, he's a giant that blows positive dreams into little children while they're sleeping. I love that. So he makes us have good dreams when we were kids, when you guys make kids have dreams. So cool. Now, hang on a minute, Sophie said. Where do you get these dreams? I collect them, the BFG said, waving an arm towards all the rows of bottles on the shelves. I has billions of them. You can't collect a dream, Sophie said. A dream isn't something you can catch a hold of. You is never going to understand about it, the BFG said. That is why I was not wishing to tell you. Oh, please tell me, Sophie said. I will understand. Go on. Tell me how you collect dreams. Tell me everything. The BFG settled himself comfortably in his chair and crossing his legs. Dreams, he said, is very mysterious things. They is floating around in the air like whipsy misty bubbles, and all the time they is searching for sleeping people. Can you see them? Sophie asked. Never at first. Then how do you catch them if you can't see them? Sophie asked. Aha, said the BFG. Now we is getting on the dark and dusky secrets. I won't tell a soul. I is trusting you, the BFG said. He closed his eyes and sat quite still for a moment while Sophie waited. A dream, he said, as it goes whiffling through the night air, is making a tiny little buzzing, humming noise. But this is a buzzy hum is so silvery soft, it is impossible for a human being to be hearing it. Can you hear it? Sophie asked. The BFG pointed up to his enormous truck wheel ears, which he now began to move in and out. He performed this exercise proudly with a little proud smile on his face. Is you seeing these? He asked. How could I miss them? Guys, Miss Kappas can do the same exact thing that the BFG can for her skill. They maybe is looking a bit preposterous. Preposterous means ridiculous. So these ears do look pretty ridiculous, if I say so myself. They maybe is looking a bit preposterous to you, the BFG said, but you must believe me when I say they is very extra usual ears indeed. They is not to be coughed at. I'm quite sure they're not, Sophie said. They is allowing me to hear absolutely every single twiddly little thing. You mean you can hear things I can't hear, Sophie said. You is deaf as a dumpling compared with me, cried the BFG. You was hearing only thumping loud noise of those little earwigs of yours, but I am hearing all the secret whisperings of the world. Such as what? Whoops, Sophie asked. In your country, he said, I is hearing the footsteps of a ladybird as she goes walking across a leaf. Honestly, Sophie said, beginning to be impressed. What's more is I hear in those footsteps very loud, the BFG said. When a ladybird is walking across a leaf, I is hearing her feet go clumpity, clump, clump, like giant's footsteps. Good gracious me, Sophie said. What else can you hear? I is hearing little ants chittering to each other as they scuttle around the soil. You mean you can hear ants talking? Every single word, the BFG said, although I is not exactly understanding their language. Go on, Sophie said. Sometimes on a very clear night, the BFG said, and if I is swiveling my ears in the right direction, and here he swiveled his great ears upwards as if they were facing the ceiling. Oh my gosh. If I is swiveling them like this and the night is very clear, I sometimes hearing faraway music coming from the stars in the sky. A queer little shiver passed through Sophie's body. She sat very quiet, waiting for more. My ears is what told me you were watching me out your window last night, the BFG said. But I didn't make a sound, Sophie said. I was hearing your heart beating across the road. the BFG said, loud as a drum. Go on, Sophie said, please. I can hear plants and trees. Do they talk? Sophie asked. They is not exactly talking, the BFG said, but they is making noises. For instance, if I come along and I is picking a lovely flower, really quickly, my secret word is boxing. If I is twisting the stem of the flower until it breaks, then the plant is screaming. I can hear it screaming and screaming very clear. You don't mean it, Sophie cried. How awful. It is screaming, just like you would be screaming if someone was twisting your arm off. Oh, I'm going to think about that the next time I pick a flower. Is that really true? Sophie asked. You think I is swizz-fiddling you? I guess swizz-fiddling means lying, tricking. It is rather hard to believe. Then I is stopping right here, said the BFG sharply. I is not wishing to be called a fibster. Ah, fibster, liar. Fibster, fibbing means lie. Oh, no, I'm not calling you anything, Sophie cried. I believe you, I really do. Please go on. The BFG gave her a hard, long stare. Sophie looked right back at him. Her face opened to his. I believe you, she said softly. She had offended him. She could see that. I wouldn't ever be fibbling to you, he said. I know you wouldn't, Sophie said, but you must understand that it isn't easy to believe such amazing things straight away. I understand that, the BFG said. So do please forgive me and go on, she said. He waited a while longer, and then he said, it is the same with us trees as with flowers. If I is chopping an axe into a trunk of a tree, I is hearing a terrible sound coming from inside the heart of the tree. What sort of sound? Sophie asked. A soft moaning sound, the BFG said. It is like the sound of an old man is making when he is dying slowly. Oh. He paused. The cave was very silent. Trees is living and growing just like you and me, he said. They is alive, so is plants. He was sitting very straight in his chair now, his hands clasped tightly together in front of him. His face was bright, his eyes round as bright as two stars. Such wonderful and terrible sounds I is hearing, he said. Some of them you would never wish to be hearing yourself, but some is like glorious music. He seemed almost to be transfigured, changed in a positive way, by the excitement of his thoughts. His face was beautiful in its blaze of emotions. He sounds like a very emotional person. Giant, I mean. Tell me some more about them, Sophie said quietly. You just ought to be hearing the little miceys talking. Little miceys is always talking to each other, and I is hearing them as loud as my own voice. What do they say? Sophie asked. Only the miceys know that, he said. Spiders is also talking a great deal. You might not be thinking it, but spiders is the most tremendous natterboxes, and when they is spinning their webs, they is singing all the time. They is singing sweeter than a nightingale. Who else do you hear? Sophie asked. One of the biggest chat bags is a caterpillar, the BFG said. What do they say? They is arguing all the time about who's going to be the prettiest butterfly. That is all they ever is talking about. Is there a dream floating around in here now? Sophie asked. The BFG moved his great ears the way and listening intently. He shook his head. There is no dream in here, he said, except in the bottles. I had a special place to go for catching dreams. They is not often come into Giant Country. How do you catch them? The same way you was catching butterflies. Oh, this is so cool. This is how he catches the dreams, the BFG answered, with a net. Oh, so he catches the dreams in the air with the net, and he can hear the dreams with his ears. He stood up and crossed over the corner of the cave where a pole was leaning against the wall. The pole was about 30 feet long, and there was a net on the end of it. Here is the dream catcher, he said, grasping the pole in one hand. Every morning I is going out and snitching new dreams to put in my bottles. Suddenly he seemed to lose interest in the conversation. I is getting hungry, he said. It is time for eats.